It's like, yes, obviously, it will always boil down to, ultimately, player preference and personal choice. You are right. However, there are a lot of things that are just fucking garbage. Preach comparing WoW endgame grind to those with Final Fantasy XIV.
What happens when you make a catch-up zone for an MMO and you do not care whether people need to be online in 5 weeks' time grinding their ass off? Doesn't that sound cool?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I found it. Let's take a look.
That's the good shit right there. Okay.
Completely optional. An entire fully fleshed out story. Immediate, useful power gains for the player. Completely optional. A fast track to level alts. A spectator single player mode that passively encourages supporting players and creating a positive environment.
That's cool.
3 optional raids. Rewards every single type of useful currency in the game constantly. And did I mention, completely optional?
I feel like that's one of the best things about Final Fantasy is a lot of the stuff is optional, number one. And the other thing is the fact that it has the Sprout icon. I genuinely believe that the Sprout icon being visible to other players is such a huge positive thing. And the worst thing about it is that World of Warcraft actually has a Sprout icon, and it's a little baby Murloc coming out of its shell. And people that are in the mentorship program in WoW can see people that have that thing over their head, but everybody else isn't able to. I think that's a huge missed opportunity for WoW. I think that in a big way, World of Warcraft would benefit from having people who are able to see, oh, this is a new player. Okay, well, let's take it easy on them. We're not going to expect them to, you know, like just be amazing at the game. I don't know why it's not like that in WoW. It's such a good idea.
Let's pause here, shall we? So I had absolutely no idea what FF14's endgame was like. Beyond when MSQ, it was the most constant question I was asked, certainly from other WoW guys, is what is the endgame like? Every time the subject came up, it was met with completely contrasting views from my live audience. Bosnia is awful. Bosnia is absolutely amazing, and so obviously I need to find out for myself. So what is Bosnia? It's essentially the catch-up zone for FF14. Similar in concept to like the Isle of Thunder, Legionfall, Nazjatar, Mechagon, etc. I've made it a point to investigate a lot of extra content before moving on to whatever the next FF14 expansion might be, to just get
see, like I'm doing the exact same thing as Preach. Like, I want to do all of the content before I move on to the next expansion because I want to have the experience. I want to play it the way it should be played
as possible to the original experiences I can.
Yeah.
One thing I did pass on was something called Eureka. This was the Stormblood extra catch-up
People say
zone.
this
And
is really grindy.
You guys were not really happy that I skipped it, and we're not going to let that happen again.
Yeah.
So I was spammed to go and check out Bosnia. Now, my impression leading into this, that Bosnia,
that's really
this
fucking
is based
cool.
off what people were telling me, had some sort of story similar to what we would expect from WoW, which introduces you to the new zone, and then it turns into a super, super grindy experience, which you would find in a lot of typical Japanese MMOs. Needless to say,
I'm playing one right
exactly
now.
Excited.
I know.
I thought it was going to be like an hour of
fully
story,
aware.
and then it just leaves you there to get on with your grind, do your daily quests, whatever it might be. So, thankfully, that is not what it is. Firstly, the story is completely fleshed out and varied as anything else in the game, including the MSQ. It's engaging.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool how they had like a whole quest line for Alexander, for example. And it's the same thing with the Crystal Tower where, you know, what was his name? Graha Tia becomes like the, I don't know, like the fucking, he's like the keeper of the Crystal Tower, basically, because he had the Allagan fucking eye. Like, that was really cool. And I liked all that stuff for, I liked that a lot. It was awesome. And it was just extra content that was actually very, very deep.
Has twists and turns. It's not voice acted, but it brings in new interesting characters, familiar faces from the rest of the game, while also trying to tie into whatever the current world events are happening elsewhere. So, toying with premonitions...
I will have to say, like, this is one thing that I'm not really a huge fan of with Final Fantasy, is that I don't really like the graphics. That's the truth. I really just don't like the graphics that much. I think that the graphics are kind of bad. If you look at like this, the way this looks, this doesn't look very good. Like, even if you compare it to like there are a lot of MMOs that are not necessarily great, But in my opinion, I feel like the Final Fantasy graphics stick out more to me than any other MMOs.
Long lost deities, the oppression of the empire, all the usual stuff is here and done really well. I was amazed that even when a solid group of players allowing me the most speedy path through the story, it took me nearly 4 days of around 8 hours each just to complete the story. It's
Jesus.
Big, and it's good, and it was well worth the time investment. But that's not my
That
focus
reminds me of
here.
Hulk
I
Hogan.
want to talk about systems. Systems. And
Okay.
systems has become such a
Here we go.
horrible word because reality, what we're actually saying is systems done badly. Systems in games are totally fine. Every single video game in the world runs on its systems. That's how it works. But when systems are implemented to be obnoxious and annoying...
Systems that are created to pace players. And that's what developers think. They think, oh, we're pacing players. No, you're not pacing them. You are kneecapping them. You are strangling them. You are making it to where, like, as I said, I think the best example of a bad system that just makes the game worse, there's a few of them. Conduit Energy, the Corruption Vendor, and Azoth in New World. These are terrible fucking systems that should have never been added into the game, and all they do is make the game worse. And I feel like the biggest problem with WoW, for example, in the last 5 years, if you go all the way back to Legion, I think it started in Legion with like the legendaries and like the artifact weapon and everything like that, because those systems were really bad on release, is that the worst thing about all expansions Legion onward was not the content, it was the systems. The systems were fucking terrible, and they strangled the life out of the game, and they demoralized players. They made people not want to log in. They made things take longer for no reason. They made alts harder to do. They just made the entire game worse. And if you didn't have those systems in the game, I feel like the expansion would have been, all expansions would have been infinitely better. Like even BFA, I think would have been infinitely better if all of the systems were designed in the way that they were finally ended up.
And to string you along and to be just carrots on sticks, that's where it becomes a problem. My years and years of experience when it comes to extra catch-up zones and new casual content boils down, before I even touch it, to a few questions.
What's that?
1, how long will it take me to grind this motherfucker out until I actually get the 1 or 2 things I actually want? 2, how long per day is it going to take me to get my daily grind complete? And 3, is it mandatory? These are the same questions.
I feel like there's also a number 4, which is it fun? Because there's a lot of grinding and a lot of things that I have to do that are just really not fun in the game. And I feel like this is a huge problem that, like, I think World of Warcraft and also New World have, is that making the game good is making it fun. And I think that there's a lot of players, and I talked about this yesterday with Virtus, right? Is that there's a lot of players who feel like overcoming bad game mechanics means that they're not bad game mechanics. And there's also a lot of MMO players that treat being able to overcome tedious activities as difficulty. And I feel like those mindsets and that mentality being put into a video game will kill the game. Straight up, you will take your dick and you will put it in the game and it will be full of dicks. It will be like a dick multiplier. Yes, exactly. That's what the real problem is that there are, like, things the spectrum does not exist like this. Fun, difficult. The spectrum does also not exist like this. Fun, easy. It's easy and hard, and not fun and fun. So what I'm saying is that difficulty of completing certain tasks is not necessarily correlated to how enjoyable they are. And there are a lot of tasks in WoW that are difficult to do, but they are not enjoyable to engage in.
People are currently asking about the upcoming 9.2.
It's totally subjective. I don't think it's as subjective as you think it is. I really actually don't think so. Like, for example, the Azoth system in New World is fucking garbage. And you can prove that by the fact that all of these people, one of the big reasons why they quit, review after review after review, all are saying, I'm sick of running around. There are so many ways. Like, yes, obviously, it will always boil down to ultimately player preference and personal choice. You are right. However, I don't think that's a very accurate way to describe what I'm talking about, because there are a lot of things that are just fucking garbage. They're fucking garbage. Like the Love Rocket, farming the Love Rocket on 65 characters a day. That's not fun. Like, maybe there are a few people here that are, they're watching from the mental asylum, and they're like, wait a minute, it's so fun, and that's why they're there in the first place. But the fact is that most fucking people play something like that, and they say, this sucks. Yeah, they're playing from a padded room. We're not going to fucking do that, man. It's garbage. And I don't think it's very subjective that much at all, especially not whenever enough people agree with it.
For Zereth Mortis in World of Warcraft, because it's going to feature double legendaries, and immediately as soon as you hear that, you think, okay, I'm gonna have to grind this thing. It doesn't matter whether it's good content or not, and that's the really sad thing. It actually doesn't matter, because you're forced to do it regardless. If you want to be even moderately up to date with the video game, you want to have these ludicrous power gains that you can get, you're going to have to be there. And it just puts a sour taste in your mouth before you even step foot in the place. It could be the most amazing place in the world, and that would just be a benefit. And that's the sad thing. Because if it's less than great, you're going to get annoyed really goddamn quickly because you have to be there.
People don't like having their time wasted. I think that's really the biggest thing, is that there's a lot, these systems, what they do in many regards is that they waste your time. And I think that's really the best way to describe why people do or don't like certain systems, is the ones that waste your time are the ones that frustrate people.
How amazing was it that as soon as I did my first Bosnia encounter, I saw that I got several things immediately. Like, immediately. I got huge amounts of experience. The zone is scaled, so you can come on lower or higher level characters to level and do whatever the hell you want. The second thing I got was tomestones, used to buy the latest and greatest gear from a vendor. So many, actually. I got so many tomestones from just doing the story that I could gear my alts that I haven't even rolled yet while I was playing around. I regularly capped out my stones and just bought gear for other classes that I haven't even tried yet. So I would have gear just waiting for me.
I actually did the same thing. Whenever I got to level 50, I bought an entire set of gear for like, I think it was like a black mage or something like that, in case I ever wanted to play it.
Got around to doing it. And then I got tokens. These tokens gave you enormous power buffs immediately. Extra mobility, extra DPS cooldowns, massive huge health and defensive gains. And the passive buffs, like doubling your HP and defense, they don't even expire. They're just active until you finish your gaming session in the zone or it eventually resets.
That's crazy.
And a lot of the like DPS cooldowns, even the mega ones, they come with like 99 charges. So you could just use one of these for days, literally days. They come back as soon as you step back in the zone. That's right back with you.
Oh, so it's like Palace of the Dead. It like snapshots it.
You've probably collected like a dozen of them, so you're never going to run out. And then there's the extra bonus stuff. So I was getting these clusters, which buy you much faster mount speed in the zone. And ironically, it's one of the cheapest rewards you can actually buy. They want you to get this really quickly. There's new dances, new emotes, mounts, minions, and...
Yeah, because, like, moving around, I think, like, travel time for games and stuff like that is, listen, I'll say again that, that Final Fantasy, I've said before, right? I mean, Bosnia is Shadowbringers, and so it's a lot newer. I don't think that the graphics of the game are amazing, but I do think that Final Fantasy meets my graphics check. So for me, graphics are like a binary system. Either the graphics are so bad that it makes me not want to play the game, or the graphics are good enough and I don't care about them. Final Fantasy's graphics are good enough and I don't care about them. It doesn't mean that they're perfect. Does it have the, the splendor of a New World Sunset? It does not. However, it also has a lot of things that New World doesn't have, like an actual endgame, for example. And it doesn't have body blocking from fucking people that are on your team. So, yes, there are some good things about these other games, and the graphics of the game do kind of suck. I do. I think they suck. But that doesn't mean that the game is bad.
Even more powerful buffs to use. The next thing I got was memories, which then gave me, like, big visual relic weapons.
Yeah.
And the last thing I got was loot boxes that can
This looks really
mounts,
cool.
Pets and consumables. So you'd know if you've done World of Warcraft, if you hit Exalted, you get a bonus box. Well, you get these just dropping all the time. And by the end of each session, I had like 60 of these to just gain a bunch more stuff. And the cool thing is, the minions and the transmog items that I got from these, they're not bound to your character. So if I'm not interested in them, or I get repeats, I can just sell them. This, my friends, is what happens when you really, really don't care whether players want to engage in your brand new piece of content. I'm not saying that that's things that we can just throw away, but when you remove 2 factors in the design brief, when you're sitting down to write out how this new content is going to be, and you take out these 2 factors, and one is make sure the player has to
Updog, thanks
take
to 10
part.
subs. I appreciate it.
We're making this content.
What's
so
up, dog?
Players have to take part in it. Otherwise, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of resources. So we have to find a way to make sure players...
And that's what WoW does a lot with systems, is that they add in a new system into the game, and then they incentivize it by making it... pseudo-mandatory. Things like Torghast to get, like, your Soul Ass and your Soul Cinders, right? And, Korthia to get, like, your research so you can get up to level 6, and then you can put gems in your gear. Things like that. And you garrisons, like, all this kind of stuff. Like, this is the way that... And I think that the reason why Blizzard does that is because they're not completely confident in the system. And the reason why I say it is, like, the Mage Tower is completely optional. There is nothing that you get out of the Mage Tower, and I think that's one of the big reasons why people like it so much, is the fact that you don't have to do anything, you don't have to learn anything, or you don't have to farm for anything, or you do kind of to get the gear, but it is not necessary. It is an optional challenge that you can undertake if you choose to. And Mage Tower is the last good content in the game. Mage Tower was fucking amazing, and they didn't need to make it necessary or mandatory for players because they were confident in it, I think, in a big way.
Take part. They are forced to take part. And 2, make sure they're still taking part in a week's time.
Retention mechanisms.
Time, 3 weeks' time,
recidivism.
4 weeks' time, 5 weeks' time, 6 weeks' time.
Weekly caps.
Otherwise, they'll complain for a lack of content. So we have to make it a long-ass road to travel, and we have to make it that they have to be there.
And this is actually a problem. Like, Final Fantasy is lucky in this regard because a lot of WoW players expect to be able to play WoW 8 hours a day and never run out of content. And I think that that's because that they used to be able to do that, but it wasn't even really true back then. You were just doing Battlegrounds all day, and now doing Warsong Gulch for 4 hours doesn't appeal to you as much as it used to. So Final Fantasy is lucky in a way that they've kind of like trained their player base into the mentality of this game will not always have content for you. It's okay to be done. It's okay to finish. And that's one of the things that I liked about WoW, even at the beginning of Shadowlands, is that after I got all of my 226 gear for PvP, and even now in Shadowlands, I'll say a good thing about Shadowlands. I like the fact that I can get my PvP gear and I'm done. I'm done. I don't have to, I can log on, and it's like the way it feels like whenever you log on and you already had your best in slot, you feel like you just came back to your fucking high school, you're in your first year of college, you walk in with the shorts on, you're wearing a hat, you're not supposed to wear a hat in school, but hey man, you fucking graduated, you got your sunglasses on, hey yo, what up? And you go to get like your transcript or some shit like that, and you see all those stupid ass fucking kids sitting around, and you know that you're better than they are. And that's exactly the way I fucking feel when I log in and I have all the gear, man. That's exactly the way I fucking feel.
When you take those 2 things out of the design brief, when you take those 2 things off the table, you just create fun. You just create fun on its own merits. It stands on its own 2 feet. And you also remove the idea of, well, we can't give too much too quickly, otherwise what's going to make them come back? We can't just overwhelm the player with cool stuff, because then they'll just be like, oh, well, I've got everything now. No, you take all that away and say, have a blast. Have a blast. It's so freeing. You can feel the freedom when you're playing it. You actually feel that freedom every single time.
You do whatever the fuck you want.
Oh, cool. I can buff myself up to the stars and go crazy. Instead, you also remove the idea of drip feeding rewards. We've all been there, especially my WoW audience, where you have had something like an emissary quest or a renown chest to get, and you go to a zone, and what the first thing you do is you open the map and you check which of the 4 quests you
with
need to do.
your 17 different add-ons that are connected to 5 different third-party sites that then feed you information into an algorithm that then parses out that information and does mathematical calculations into where it tells you how to actually mathematically maximize your artifact power gains on your 3rd Moonkin alt because your guild's trying to kill Sire Denathrius Mythic and you can't raid on your main character because it doesn't do enough DPS, so you're trying to power level your fucking alt and you're trying to get it conduits and you're trying to get it conduit energy. You're out of conduit energy, you gotta wait for tomorrow, and then you're trying to get also your legendary, you gotta go back into Torghast, and then you have to get to layer 8, but you don't have layer 8, so you have to buy a WoW token so you can buy a carry to get to layer 8, and then finally you get to layer 8, then you have to buy another WoW token to buy the white item on the auction house, and then fucking enchant the white item on the auction house with the WoW token gear, and then you get the fucking enchant for the legendary, and then oh my god, the legendary was the same piece that you got from the raid, so now you need to get a legend of the legendary, so you buy another WoW token for 200,000 gold for $20 again, and then you make a second legendary. Like, that's the experience. Slow down. Chill out. Relax. Calm down. Holy shit. All right, here we go. Jesus, that was a lot of work, man. I was moving around, doing all kinds of crazy shit like that. Holy fuck.
Are actually worth your time. And there are occasions, and we've all been there, where you look at it and go, there is actually not 4 things in this zone that are worth my time. There really isn't. Some of them are going to give me 35 anima. Some of them are going to give me 100 gold or 250 gold.
Sorry, I was peeing. Can you repeat that?
A lot of gold.
Shut the fuck up.
Some people don't. Some people do. But this is why you're judging it on a person-by-person basis.
Yeah.
You scan that map. You mouse over everything. You're like, pet food charms.
What are you trying to talk shit for, Preach? You got to get 10,000 of those to get the new pet. What do you mean? What's wrong with the pet charms, huh?
And then there are those times where it's so bad that the big brain play that we're going to do
is not play.
Is we're going to try and save it over 3 days to maybe that over the course of the 3 days before that big chest quest disappears.
Oh, the emissaries will stack up.
Maybe 4 things in total that are worth my time.
Yeah.
What else impressed me is the zone does a lot of really subtle things to make you feel like you're part of an MMO. Regularly, you have these critical engagement spawn. That's what they call them. These are literally outdoor 48-man world bosses. They reward a hell of a lot more of the stuff that you're already getting. The big buffs I mentioned are optional, so you can be super powerful in these encounters. And if you use them, it can be quite hard to die, which might sound...
Can you solo this? Or is it just a group thing? No, you can. There are solos. You can solo some of them. I love solo content in MMOs. Like, it's not even solo content in MMOs. I love solo content, like, in general. Like, things like Dark Souls. I think those are some of my favorite things, man. I love it. There are duels. Yeah, I'm going to do every single one of those.
So some of you are like, oh, so it's just easy mode then? No. The encounters do vary in difficulty from easy to one called Red Chocktober, which will just decimate a ton of players. But the trick here, as I said, it's not about dying, is that they use vulnerability stacks to assess you. All right? If you get a mechanic wrong, or even several, it probably isn't going to kill you with these massive HP and defense.
I hope that WoW does this. I actually hope WoW steals this idea. Because one of the biggest problems that WoW has... So people in Final Fantasy get hit by mechanics because they don't know them. People in WoW get hit by mechanics because they do know them and they know that it won't kill them. And it is the most annoying fucking thing. I remember how many of you guys have ever been in a fucking raid, and you go into the raid... And guess what? There's somebody in there standing in the fire to DPS higher. Who could have possibly taught them that? And one time, because I knew that people were doing this, I told everybody, we're turning off logs today. No one is logging. It was the cleanest raid I had ever been in. People just like, oh, the mechanic's going out. All right, everybody just walks and they do the mechanic. Whereas before, they're like, oh, I'm trying to shoot at these fireballs. Okay, should I do the mechanic? Okay, I'm going to stutter step. Oh, I missed it. Oops, that's too bad. Raid's dead. Damn. All right, guys. But I would have had a 99 if we killed it. Fuck that. Fuck that. I wish that they had more of these, like the vulnerability and the debuff for your damage. I think that's really smart. And also Lost Ark, the way Lost Ark handles it is that there are some abilities that I believe have like super armor, which is same as like hyper armor in Dark Souls 3, that like whenever you're casting the ability, it's harder to interrupt it except for certain abilities, but it will knock your character down and CC your character. So you don't even want to stand and stuff and get hit by it because it will incapacitate your character. So that's a big reason why it plays better, is because you don't have people that are constantly doing the math on if they can stand in this mechanic or not. I think it's a lot better.
But you will get a stack of vulnerability. This allows weaker or first-time players an awesome chance to just learn and practice without just lying on the floor and watching everybody else do it.
Imagine that.
No one cares at all if you get 4 or 5 vulnerability stacks if you're still not dying. It doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
But what you get to do,
tells everybody that you suck, though,
or you're not a particularly good player, is you get to keep playing and learn and practice and learn and practice. And over time, what you need to do is not get any vulnerability stacks at all.
Right.
Because then that can spawn a duel. Now, these are basically Mage Tower, really difficult single-player encounters. They're really, really hard. I've watched several people complete these, and more often than not, people fail, just like they would do in a really hard solo piece of content. And what actually happens is you prepare for them. You start learning them. You start studying them. You start preparing the appropriate potions.
Oh, that's so fucking badass. So you duel the guy in front of everybody and they have to watch you? Oh, bro, that's so fucking cool. Holy shit. Oh my god, random chance to get in. They get they get buffs if they watch. They also get a buff if you kill it. What happens if you don't kill it? Do they all get a debuff and they hate you? I have a good feeling Final Fantasy wouldn't do that, but it's still funny
to take with you when you go
they
into
just
this
laugh
encounter,
at you.
right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the really, really, really cool bit.
That's so cool.
They're open world. People can come and watch you, and in fact, you're encouraged to do that.
That's
and you're
badass.
also encouraged to support that player, to give them positive vibes,
Wow.
to cheer them on.
Posy
it very much
vibes.
reminded me of like when Thunderen was spawning in WoW Classic, and you would see across the plains guilds and all these people charging across the battlefield to go and watch a duel. So every time you would do one of these critical engagements that can actually spawn a duel, you would wait to see if the duel spawned. Did someone do well enough in order to spawn one? And then it appears. And then you head over and you see...
I actually think, you know what another game that really did this well was New World. I really liked how in New World, you could watch groups fight the arenas. Like, you could watch somebody fight the Spriggan. You could watch somebody fight Siren Queen or something like that. That was really, really fucking cool. The problem is that the fights were super easy and it was hard to get over there, so there's no reason to ever watch anybody. But, like, for example, okay? Imagine if, like, let me think of an example of, like, what would really make sense in, like, a WoW or, like, New World, like, analogy. Okay, let's say you have, like, in World of Warcraft, you have somebody who is trying to fight the Mage Tower, you know, and there's like some kind of like really, really powerful version of the Mage Tower, like the Mage Tower. And the top mage or the top warrior on your server is going to fight this guy. And you can have everybody around in a separate spectator area watching the fight. That's fucking awesome. Brawlers Guild. Yeah, they did that with Brawlers Guild. And you know what? Brawlers Guild was fucking awesome. Brawlers Guild was amazing. They added that in Mists of Pandaria. I recruited people for my guild through Brawlers Guild. I would watch somebody, how they moved out of mechanics, and I would say, fuck, all right, you're good. Come into the guild. Come raid Mythic with us, please. Yeah, it was awesome. I wish we had more of that. But, like, the problem with Brawlers Guild is that it's so easy. Like, there's no... Brawlers Guild in Mists of Pandaria, if you could beat... Who the fuck was it? It was like the shark on top of, like, the raptor. Hexos? Bro, Hexos was not hard. You just fucking turn. Like, no, Hexos was not fucking hard. Uron? Yeah, that one was not that bad either. I feel like the one where it was like the 3 different guys, like the raptor on top of the shark on top of the guy playing a guitar. That was like the hardest one. And if you saw somebody beat that boss, it was like, holy fuck, it's gonna happen. And people would actually watch that happen back in Mists of Pandaria because a lot of people didn't have that kind of gear and they just wanted to see it happen. It was really cool. Yeah, Epicus Maximus. Yeah, there you go. Hexos, destroyer of keyboard turners. Yeah, exactly.
going to take part, and you check whether they're buffed themselves up. Are they ready for this? Are they going to be good? And you cheer them on.
Yeah.
And why do you do this? Because if they win, you get a buff that literally like doubles the metal rewards for you for the next hour. Doubles your rewards if they succeed. So you're then encouraged to create a positive player environment.
Yeah.
Because you want those people to succeed. You want to get yourself that buff. And therefore, everybody's winning. And you feel bad if they lose.
Yeah.
Don't shit on them because it's really, really hard. And you know it's really hard. But if they succeed, you're running up, you're patting them on the back, you're cheering them on, and then you're off and you're getting yourself all these extra bonus rewards. It's such a cool way of passively creating a positive environment. You're encouraged to take part. Even if you're not good enough to do this, doesn't matter. You still want the other person to do well at the same time. On top of all this, 3 48-man optional raids.
Holy fuck, that's awesome.
Use all your mega DPS buffs and just have a blast. They have their own gear, an extra savage raid for some really juicy items. Again, entirely optional. 3 raids, totally optional, totally distinct from everything else.
That's fucking cool.
If you're interested, if you enjoy raiding or you just want to see the new raid.
Oh my god.
You have literally no reason to ever step foot in the zone, and you will just not get 3 extra raids. It's as simple as that. The end game of the zone is where people will have different experiences with this, and why I was told a lot of people
it was bad, right?
I mean, a lot of people that Bosnia was crap.
Yeah,
and it was just a massive grind, and it wasn't.
See, I didn't hear that. I heard that Eureka was the bad one and Bosnia was the good one. Like that Eureka was kind of like the first draft, and Bosnia was kind of the better version of it. That's what I heard. Eureka is more hands-off. Yeah, I don't know, but I thought it was only for Relic. I'm going to do both of them. I'm halfway done with my Heavensward Relic. By the time I stream Final Fantasy again, I'll have my final Heavensward Relic. I farmed out, like I did this off stream, I farmed out like 15,000 tomestones or something like that. And I have bought all of the resources for the entire Relic.
Don't even check it out, Mike. Don't even go and look at it. Now, this is because you have finished the story, you have reached your max rank, and I did that in 4 days. Okay, so that's for some players, it's literally 4 or 5 days worth of content, depending on how hardcore you push it.
Yeah.
But that's going to be about it. And for many players, you'll go, 4 or 5 days? That sounds kind of shit. And some people really want to grind out a certain place for a long time. But, of course, the story is not over. What they do is then say, do what you want with this place. Because as we've already mentioned, you can use it to level your alts, you can use it to gear up all your characters, you can do all that stuff, and that still remains. But what they then do is say, okay, you've finished the main bulk of stuff, and you've seen practically everything. You may not have done everything, you're unlikely to have won a duel by then.
Yeah.
On several bosses, you won't have ever got it done without getting any vulnerability stacks, so you still have plenty to do in terms of your own personal goals, but that's the point. You then have your own path to go on. And they encourage that as well. So what they then do is say, okay, all that metal you've been earning to rank up, that's now an extra currency you can spend on stuff.
Oh.
You can now spend that on gaining passive buffs for your character to make them even stronger. You want to boost your DPS, you want to boost up your
that's
healing,
cool.
you want to boost up your HP. You can continue to do that. So absolutely nothing you find there is wasted. Nothing. Of all the resources and stuff you gather, nothing is going to be wasted whatsoever.
Yeah.
So now you can get this sort of prestige type system where you're going to keep building it up. And if you're passively farming it on alts, remember in FF14, your alt is still the same character. Every single character can play every single job in the game. So even when you go to swap over, you still retain all the benefits of being there originally. Instead of we look towards things that are like account wide. I've done this in one character. Can I have the benefits of this on another character? And often, certainly in World of Warcraft, it's like, no, you must start again. You must get the reputation again. You must start this over again. That doesn't happen in FF14. They say, okay, you already did this. Great. Now you can have the benefits to level up your other character.
Well, it's also another thing is like, I think Final Fantasy, the big reason why a lot of people like it is that you only play one character. Like, only playing one character is actually such a huge fucking... Like, it's such it's not a subtle thing, but it's such a just smart thing. It's the same as, like, ironically, again, in New World, you play the same character. Whether you're playing a mage, you're playing a tank, you're playing a healer, you play the same character. I think that, like, for games like WoW that have, like, individual classes, still, the best thing that WoW can do is make sure that every in-game system is account-wide. Like, just make sure every single in-game system is account-wide. Because, in my opinion, I would like to do Torghast on an alt. Maybe it could be fun, like on my Death Knight, since he's got pretty good gear now. But I'm never gonna. I'm not gonna do my tower knowledge. I don't want to do it. Like it's. I already did this. Like I already beat this game. Like why do I have to do it again? And that's the exact same way I feel about this too. Alts are a thing of the past. I don't think alts are necessarily a thing of the past, but I do think that the reason why alts are good, whenever I think of like, why did I want to level a warlock in war? Let me just think about this, right? And if you tell me guys if your experience was the same. I made Crack Monkey because I lost to a warlock in PvP. And I watched a video of a warlock doing a 4v1. And I thought to myself, guys, I think I'm playing the wrong class. I did not level up my warlock to farm reputation. I did not level up my warlock to do my attunements again. But for like a prot paladin, I did level up my prot paladin because I thought it was so fucking badass that I could chain pull 10 different groups of mobs in a dungeon and then just AoE all of them down. So what I think that like WoW should do and these other games should do is they should be honest with themselves in why are people rolling an alt. Nobody is rolling an alt to progress the tower knowledge system again in Torghast. This is not happening. It's just not happening. So, yes, Ian said they do. Ian has no fucking idea what he's talking about. Ian knows how to make raids, and he doesn't know shit about anything else in the game. Go look at his armory. He is an amazing raider. He is a scarabord. He is an OG, but he doesn't know shit about anything except for raiding. And you know what? Ian's first raid that he ever made was Throne of Thunder, the arguably best raid of all time. Keep making your raids, Ian, and stay the fuck away from the systems. That's what I think. I don't want to fucking hear about how people do that. They level. They like doing this again. No, they fucking don't. You have no idea what you're talking about. And I don't care. Oh, we have the data. No, obviously, if you had the data and you knew how to use the data, the game wouldn't be dying. So you clearly don't know what you're doing. Because if you did and you have the data and having the data gives you some level of insight that other people don't have, then why are you still failing? Like really, it's just common sense. The data shows people quitting the game. Yeah, because of this.
Not only that, your gear might be weaker on your alt job, so we'll just give you all these extra passive buffs as well. And then while you're gearing that up, we'll give you more and more buffs on top of that as well.
Brutal but
just
true.
To make your time easier, you've got something else to work towards. You can do whatever the hell you want to do, especially farming your relics. Now, this is the big grind of Bosnia. Now, your relic is basically a glam. At the time, it was a powerful weapon. But it's essentially now, certainly, it's just a wonderful transmog item that you can farm. And there's one for every single job in the game.
That's
this,
cool.
again, comes down to what you want to do. If you're somebody who's like, I want to level every single job in the game and collect every single relic.
See, like, that's some fucking crazy shit. To me, it's so simple. I want to have a Dark Knight with everything. Do you think I give a fuck about a bard? Do you think I give a fuck about a white mage? No. I care about being a Dark Knight. And you know what else? My alt is a warrior. And then I might level a paladin. And then you know what? I might level a gunbreaker too. That's it. Yeah, I'm not playing all that bullshit. And maybe a Dragoon, a Reaper. Yeah, there's a few other ones, right? But those are the main ones that I really get into. Yeah, I like tank main. The reason I like playing tanks is because whenever I play tank, the boss is always in the right spot. And I know, like, my skill as a player is not my mechanical dexterity. My skill as a player is my deep knowledge of the fights. I know exactly how they work. I know when the mechanics are going to happen, and I know what the boss is going to do before it happens. And because of that, tanking is my best role in the raid because it maximizes my skill set of knowing what's going to happen and being able to plan the boss accordingly. I'm not a good DPSer. Like, I'm really not. Because I'm usually reading stream, I'm busy, or something else like that. But I am a great tank. It's also the easiest.
It's thousands of hours of content.
So I can read chat at the same time.
It just is.
And tell you guys it's
just
not.
Sat there waiting for you. And sure, after a while, you're going to be like, this is just a mindless grind. But yeah, you're doing the same thing over and over again for thousands of hours.
Yeah.
That goes all the way back down to, I don't care about any of that stuff. And I got 4 days of really intense content out of it, to the guy who's like, I want to just get the relic for my main job. And therefore, Bosnia has a few weeks of content for me.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to have this scaling level of, I want to, like, my focus, if I was going back, would be, I want to do the jewels. And I will be going back.
That's what I want to do. Yeah, that's really cool.
It's like a Mage Tower challenge. So I absolutely want to do that. And that's why I got all these different opinions, which is understandable. Because everybody had a very different experience with it, which is exactly what they wanted. They don't want people to all have the same experience all the way through it and force it down your throat. You make your own road out of this, and it's nothing but a positive as far as I can see. My conclusion here, then. For me, Bosnia...
Yeah, whatever. How do you guys think Preach's hair looks? You know, I've been thinking a little bit about getting a hair transplant. I feel like maybe it's like the hairline is too straight. Like for me, I'd want to have a little bit of hair like right here, just so my hairline is not really quite as much like Vegeta's as it is now. Like I'm not looking to have I'm not looking to have like a perfect hairline. I just want it to look better than what it is. Do a good bald. I think that if I ever do get a hair transplant, before I do it, I will shave my head. Yes, before I do it, I will shave my head just for the content. So yeah, if I ever do it, I'll do it. I'll do it as like a charity goal or something like that. If people raise enough money, we'll fucking do it. Why not?
Was exactly what I look for from casual content. Now, what I did find out during this is the word casual content is very different in FF14. For me, it means accessibility. It's accessible content. You can do it anytime, any day. You can log in for 5 minutes, 3 hours. It doesn't matter. It's completely there.
I feel like my definition of casual content is content that's not like overwhelmingly difficult, like getting Necromancer or like maybe some of the Mage Tower challenges, but it's also challenges that you can do pretty much on your own time, that you can go in and out of at your own will. That's the most important thing to me, is that you can go in and out of these challenges whenever you want.
Open, and you can just run in, jump in, and get involved, and then you can drop out.
There's a lot of casual players that can play a lot, but not at the same time.
FF14 generally means content that isn't going to take all day. They have more of a time focus on their casual stuff. But ultimately, this was exactly the kind of thing I'm looking for when it comes to a catch-up zone.
Yeah.
There's a huge, interesting, engaging bulk of content for you there that's going to take you probably like 40 hours, right? That's all there for everybody. And nobody has to go. That's the important factor, is nobody has to do this. If you're not interested at all,
yeah, you don't have to do it.
It doesn't matter.
Who gives
a fuck? It makes absolutely no difference to you whatsoever, and you can completely avoid it if you want to. For other people, there's thousands of hours of content here that'll continue to be used into the next expansion because it's scaled. If you want to go and level there, you can go and level there. Whether there's 3 expansions later down the line, it doesn't matter. If that's your favorite place to be.
Yeah, I think one thing Final Fantasy does really well is they make sure that the content that was in like Realm Reborn or Heavensward or one of these older expansions is still relevant. It's one of the worst things like with WoW. It's like content that's in the last patch is less relevant than content that's in Heavensward in Final Fantasy. Like, think about how bad that is. It's insane.
Make a difference. You can go and do it and do whatever you want to do. And just the fact that they are not afraid to waste... They're not afraid, or they're not trying, I should say, to waste your goddamn time.
Yeah.
It's not about chasing one little reward at the end of a stick.
True.
And all the way through it. They might give you some bits and bobs here, but they're going to give it you piecemeal. They're going to gate you off from it. They're going to say, no, you can't do it for like 3 weeks, and now you're going to have to click a load of boxes. And
yeah.
The same res over and over again.
Got a little bit of bullshit.
You're going to have to do this and this and this. It's entirely down to everything you do there gives you a bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
How can you argue with content that is constantly giving you extra stuff? That you just like, oh, cool, I've geared up another character passively by doing this other thing. I went there to farm my jewels. While I was doing that, I literally leveled another character, and I also got that gear for that character.
Damn.
And I also did it while being able to make myself super strong.
I think also, like, the fact that you can get gear for alts while you're getting gear for your main gives you a reason, it kind of subconsciously makes you plan for playing an alt, which makes people play the game longer. I feel like one of the reasons why people stuck around with like Wrath of the Lich King, or they stuck around with any of these other expansions in the past, a big reason for that is just simply the fact that they could roll alts. is because alts extended the content of the game. There were a lot of times where I was bored with my warrior, and I said, fuck it, let's go level up Barbecue Beard. Fuck it, let's go level up Zack the Paladin or Crack Monkey. You know, like that's what it would be. It was great. And the alt stuff and alting in general in the game was a big way that people staved off a content drought. Is you would be raiding on like multiple different characters. Are you going to watch Final Fantasy XIV Live Letter? No, I heard that it had a lot of spoilers in it, so I'm not going to watch it. And also, I have that Elden Ring event that I have to be at really early in the morning, so I can't stay up late. I'd like to just relax tonight and go to bed at like maybe 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and then wake up in the morning and then stream it then. And that was the announcement. I'll talk about it later on.
I was there, and I could take that into the
Promise
raids.
more Lost Ark today?
I know I did. Because it really doesn't matter.
I did.
This is
We're about to
content.
do that soon.
It affects nothing to anybody, and you can go and do these things. Almost perfect. Almost perfect. There are always tweaks and improvements to be made, but from what I can see, this comparative to what I've certainly dealt with in WoW over the years, this is where you take a leaf from that book and go, yeah, this is how we do it. We take away that idea of forcing players to be there, and look what you find. Pretty damn good. I'll see you again, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
That's a good video. I really think this is a good analysis. I wish that in the video, Preach would have used more examples of like WoW and like how the systems are mandatory. And, you know, just give them more examples. But just in general, like Preach, for a lot of you guys that are Final Fantasy fans, I know we've got a lot of people in here who love Final Fantasy XIV. And, you know, you guys probably already know who Preach is. But if you don't, Preach Gaming used to be a WoW guy, played WoW ever since vanilla WoW, used to raid with Method whenever Method wasn't what Method, you know, like before, like Method was just a WoW guild back then. And he raided with Method. This guy's an OG. He's a real one. And so he's, like, we've watched his videos now for years. Like, straight up for fucking years. Would you like to see Mike's new video on Eureka? More importantly, BA, I don't know what BA is. So happy for Mike. It shouldn't matter if Final Fantasy doesn't end up being his main MMO after he's caught up with Endwalker. The amount of fun he had has still been a joy to watch. I would like to believe that the game has a very positive impact on his health and life. I think that there's a lot of people out there who, and this is like kind of like a weird thing, is that, like, I've had the same thing happen where people constantly tell me that, like, wow, you seem in a much better mood, you seem happier whenever you're playing Final Fantasy, or like they try to like kind of project their emotions of being happy that you're doing it onto you. And I really don't like that. The truth is, I enjoy Final Fantasy, but I love sitting down and relaxing and playing World of Warcraft. It's so fun. I love it. I think it's great. Final Fantasy did not end up being better for my health. Well, actually, in a way it did, but not for the reason that they might think it. If it was any other game, it would have done the same thing in a lot of ways. Because Final Fantasy, for me, this is one thing that, like, I think many people might not really understand because, you know, you don't stream. It's like, the fuck cares, right? But there's a lot of people who, they stream one game. And whenever you're streaming one game, it can be really hard to move out of that one game and make content for another game and actually retain viewers. How many WoW streamers have you seen that had 500 average viewers that went to stream another game and then they went under 100? Like, they went under 100 viewers because of that. That's exactly what it was. And that's what's happened many times, right? And the fact is that, like, the fact that so many people would support me and want to watch me play another game, that's why it really made me feel good. That's why I was really happy about it, is because of that.